10:03. We're gonna wait for a little bit, just in case somebody else comes up, and we'll start in a few minutes, a couple minutes. All right. We have hello Sticky or Sticky. Hello to everybody that is in the chat watching this live. Thank you all for coming. This is our community hangout. It's been 2 months since our last hangout, so we thought we'd give you a status update and what's going on with Falcon and where we are for our project. So I got a few slides ready for you. Alright, so our agenda for today is, of course, an introduction. Welcome to all attendees. We always do that. And of course, the thank you for all the community and contributors in the chat. Hello, Gustavo. Hello, Max, Sandeep, the Mr. Daniel Peterson. I'm very quiet. Give me one moment. Let me just put the boost up there on this. Maybe. All right, give me one moment. Testing 1 2 3. It's probably a little bit better this way. If I talk a little bit louder. Is it better now or not? Can you guys hear me? Oh, okay. All right. Thank you, Alexander. All right. So what I was saying is that it's been a couple of months since our last hangout. We'd like to give you an update on what is going on with Falcon and where we are. We have been busy. We picked up the pace quite a bit and started fixing a lot of the issues that we promised that we're gonna fix. As per normal, our agenda. Um, okay, it seems like it's the same. It's fine. We can hear you. Just have to turn up the headphones. Okay, thank you, Daniel. Um, so the agenda for today is introduction, welcome, and a thank you to the whole community. These two slides are always there because we want to show our appreciation to our community. We're going to give you a quick update on Zephyr and PHP 8 and 8.1, what has happened since the last update, update for versions 5 and version 6, update on our builds, and of course any help you guys can offer into our projects or satellite projects, that would be great. You don't need to know Zephyr or anything else. We have a lot of other PHP related projects as well as documentation, so if anybody's interested in contributing, that would be fantastic. So let's get to the next slide. The next slide is something you guys have seen many times before. A huge thank you to our community. Also, these are the links of our social media presences. We try to be on every social media platform just in case people want to use a different one instead of the two big ones, I guess, Facebook and Twitter. I don't know, I don't have a Facebook account. I don't think we've posted anything there, but we'll see. We'll see about that. Also, a huge thank you to all the translators that have worked on Crowden and translated our documentation. There will be a brand new documentation for version 5. There are quite a lot of changes in terms of interface and location of classes. But pretty much the text is gonna be the same because there's not that many changes in terms of methods or in the actual text of the documentation. So if you're one of those translators, do not think that we're gonna redo everything from scratch. A lot of the text is gonna be pretty much the same. All right, for Zephyr, of course, Alex and Anton Jeckerson and Alex and Diermac have been leading the effort in Zephyr. We have released quite a few versions since our last hangout. A lot of work, a lot of testing. The current version is 0.15.2. And the two notable changes that got in were that it now supports require once, which was really helpful to fix a side issue. You couldn't necessarily call it a bug, but it was something that was causing grief for the community. Our loader was using require, and if you were using the Falcon loader and another loader from a different package, let's say Zend or Symfony or whatever, and it was trying to include the same class, you would get a failure. So now we pretty much put everywhere require once, so that whenever you have two different loaders or three, I don't know why you would want to do that, but you know, it is what it is. You will not have any clashes that this particular class or file was already included. Also in Falcon.ini, in the ini settings, we now support strings. It used to be just hashes and booleans. So it was brought to our attention that one of the settings was not actually showing in when you did PHP info. So we fixed that, and now we can actually put more settings if we need to there. As far as PHP 8.1 is concerned, we are there. I think there was only one, maybe two tests that were failing, but we were testing against RC1. 8.1 is practically close to the door, so to speak, to become a new version coming out of PHP. So as soon as that comes out, Zephyr is going to be fully compatible with it, and you would be able to build any applications you want with Zephyr and or compile Falcon for that matter. Now we do have oh, and I forgot to put this here in the slide. We do already support the mixed return type or variable, which is in version 8. And transparently, it will use var if you're using PHP 7.4, or it would use mixed if you're using 8 and above. Our current work is on yield, to offer yield support for Zephyr, and also return a generator. This will create some sort of a pseudo asynchronous processing, because with yield and generators you can achieve some asynchronous capabilities with PHP. If anybody's interested, Nikita Popov has written a very thorough post. It's been quite a few years back, but in his blog he has a really good post on how you can use yield and generators in order to achieve asynchronous processing, especially with queues and all that stuff. Very good article. So let's go to version 5. A lot of work. If you notice the change log, you're gonna see version alpha 4, alpha 5 didn't have that much, alpha 6 had quite a bit, and alpha 7 probably that's gonna come up is pretty much packed with a lot of changes and features. I didn't count what we did on alpha 4, 5, and 6. I only counted what we have right now. So we have 41 implemented cards, and those are the implemented ones, not the ones that we decided that we were not gonna fix this, or they're not bugs or something like that. We have 9 cards working on it. One of them is refactoring, one is about the builds, and 6 ones are database related. And on the 8 cards that are in the active sprint, 5 of them are Zephyr related. So those are gonna be looked after in parallel with the project, and the ones that with Falcon rather, and the ones that are detrimental to the operation of Falcon are gonna be fixed first. The ones that we can live without are gonna be left, and we will be able to release a beta or even the proper version, the stable version, if you like. And Aziz has been helping a lot with the dev tools, as well as he picked up a few issues from Falcon, so he's helping a lot with the process to make things work and finish what we promised that we're gonna finish. In the meantime, just a quick note. Yes, those are just what is it, 17 cards left for us to address. If in the meantime we see something that is in the backlog that can be quickly fixed, we actually pick it up. So a lot of these 41 cards that we've implemented, some of them were not even planned for this version, but because it was a very quick fix, we thought that we would just push that out as well. Now, of course, our goal is to release the version, and not get delayed with, oh, I can fix this one and I can fix this one, and you go into a different rabbit hole, and you waste a lot of time, and then in the meantime you don't release. So we would rather, once V5 is out, we intend on introducing a lot of smaller versions very quickly, even if that means that we're going to be releasing every couple of weeks or every month, in order to get people, in order to fix all the issues that we have outstanding. The bulk of the issues that we still have are NFRs, new feature requests and all that stuff, and a lot of those have been moved into version 6, because then we can actually leverage also the community and their help in order for everybody to get a push into implementing things that people might need. So nothing has been forgotten. We still have all the lists of the stuff that people really like to see, and all those are going to be addressed sooner or later, right? Continuing a bit on V5, we have so far, up until now, since the last release, which was Alpha 6, we have 15 bugs fixed. We fixed a bug with cache and timeout. The timeout for the connection was incorrectly pointing to the timeout, which was the default time to live. So we had not really good performance there, because the connection would just time out after a little while. We also found a bug, of course the community found this, not us, that the default time to live for cache items was incorrectly set. So if you were passing null, it would keep out the default value, and if you were passing 0, it wasn't actually deleting the item. So 0 or a negative item on time to live for when setting cache items should delete the item in there, should delete the key. So it became very quickly evident that we didn't have a way to cache something forever. So we introduced a new method called setForever, and that allows people to set things in their cache, indefinitely. We fixed some stuff, a merge conflict that was coming with numeric keys in config. That was an inconsistency from version 3 to version 4 to version 5. There was another bug in crypt when you were decrypting signed messages, and also a potential security feature that was brought to our attention, and thank you so much. If somebody had the ability to put in, to actually post a file to your server using some sort of a technique, they could utilize the Falcon logger to actually create a remote shell using the serialize and serialize. So we fixed that one as well. Now, yes, the prerequisite was that person did manage to inject a file into your file system on your server, but nonetheless, we all make mistakes. This could happen, so it better safe than sorry. We just got rid of the serialize and unserialize in the logger. So a few highlights on what has changed and what hasn't changed. A lot of refactoring, a lot of breaking of compatibility, backwards compatibility. We started moving the classes from the top level, so something in the lines of Falcon Crypt or Falcon Security, into more meaningful and sub namespaces, if you like. Crypt and security have to do with encryption, so we create a new namespace called Falcon Encryption, and we put those two in there. In the meantime, we made things a little bit easier in terms of padding, so we created a padding interface as well as a pad factory to allow people to create any padding strategies that they might like. We changed the names, the short names. Get algo, for instance, became get algorithm. It made more sense to be a little bit more verbose. And also, this has been requested quite a while. The support for Argon, the Argon algorithm in terms of hashing. This relates to security. So we modified security so that it does work with what you already have, but if you start using the new methodology, which is bcrypt, then it will use the password hash method of PHP. And those are really good methods because they automatically create a really strong salt, as well as they protect from timing attacks. It's password hash, password verify, and one more. I don't remember. So we put those, and there is also thought of introducing a pepper value, so salt and pepper. Apparently, there is some sort of a way that somebody could, with the right tools, start guessing your hashes, right? Even though you're using password hash. Now, if you introduce pepper, which is another hash value that you know, then that makes things a lot easier for you and a lot more difficult for the attacker. So that is something that we're considering in the future. The Falcon collection has been moved to support, under support, because it's a supporting class. Also, quite a few other things have been moved under support. For instance, the Falcon helper methods that we had, and that was an initiative by Max Castro, and thank you, Max, for setting that up for us. It's some short pieces of code that would allow you to do very quick stuff. For instance, get a chunk of an array, or pluck an array, or order an array, or camelize a string, lower a string, and so on and so forth. All these were in the helper namespace, so now we move them under support. But also and there is a factory that automatically creates those for you. And the factory is available as a DI service called helper. So anywhere you have the DI, you can easily do this helper and then just start pushing the variables out. Pushing the data out for you, the functionality. The reason we're moving everything, or we're moving quite a big amount of the code into support, is we're trying to keep the dependencies of each namespace to a bare minimum, and the one acceptable bare minimum would be support, right? Because these are supporting classes. We don't want to be cross-referencing one class with another class and another class and another class. And I'll talk a little bit more about this when we start touching on version 6. Some other things that have changed: the Falcon config has been moved to Falcon config. I know. Repeating the same word is annoying. I get it, but there's no other way of calling the config. So we had to move it under the sub namespace, if you like. And this comes with the fact that we don't want to have anything in the native, in the parent one. So yes, Falcon config became Falcon config. Falcon cache became Falcon cache, and Falcon logger became Falcon logger. All right, it's a little bit of a say that fast 5 times or something. Also, for the INI config adapter, the ini-scanner normal, in the path, the delimiter is now a string, not a null. This reduces if statements in the code and makes things a little bit tidier. As I mentioned earlier, the storage and cache now have the set forever. to set a key forever and a value. Falcon Escaper has been moved under HTML because it does make sense. It escapes HTML, whether this is CSS or HTML attributes or HTML itself, and so on and so forth. And we did create some simpler methods. For instance, escape CSS is just CSS because this method is on the escaper. So if you have the escaper and you call escape CSS, you have the same name twice. Now, escape CSS does exist still. It will give you a deprecated warning, so that will give you a long time to change your method names if you don't want to refactor this right now. It will be removed in a future version, maybe after 6 or something like that. We have remaining stuff for version 5. We really want to get a beta version out very soon, so I did mention all those issues. We have around 17 issues that we need to address, and we're going to try and address them as fast as we can. The other thing remaining is move classes from the top namespace. I said that again numerous times. The Falcon exception, I don't know, probably we will remove it because it doesn't serve any real purpose. It is just a wrapper for exception. And it's a class that other exceptions extend. So it's just one more layer, one more class layer. You don't really need it, so we'll probably remove it. The loader will be moved under its own namespace. I was thinking autoloader, and make a few enhancements to it that I was thinking about. The registry, I'm not sure if we should keep it because we have the read-only connection for the collection. Maybe just create a wrapper for that, where you can just load things at first and then you're not able to touch them. We also have the config that you can utilize. So it's neither here nor there, it's just some thoughts. Tag and text will be removed, both of them. We already have the HTML helper methods, and those are the same as what tag creates. So these are HTML elements. For instance, you would use in the past tag input or tag password field. Well, there are helpers already in the framework for that. And for text, which would do the camelize and camelize, lower, upper, and all that stuff, we already have a whole factory under support helper, and it's the SDR. The URL, I need to look a lot into that because we do have the PSR7 URL under the HTML namespace, HTML messages, and validation needs to be moved somewhere. I was thinking about merging validation with filter, because filter has already sanitizers, and sanitizers pretty much change the value that you pass. So let's assume you have the alphanumeric sanitizer and you pass a string. What it will do is it will remove anything that's not alphanumeric, right? A validator will do roughly the same thing, but it would just return true or false based on the validation of that. So it makes sense to actually go into the filter in a sub namespace and maybe filter / validation. I'm still pondering on the idea. I'll need to talk to Anton as well, and of course any input from the community would be more than appreciated. But those are the things, and then those are the things that we still have to refactor and move. Then, of course, we have the documentation. We have to go through the documentation again. Everything that is in version 4 needs to be revised on what changes have been made in version 5. And of course, the upgrade document for version 4 to version 5 will be a lot more verbose in order to warn people where they should focus. And I know Anton would definitely want us to coordinate with the guys at Rector, which is a really great package to show you what the upgrade path should be. And hello to Oleg who just joined. After that, we need to, or along with that, we need to upgrade our sample applications, and then we're gonna have the stable release. A lot of work, guys. Doing well, Oleg. How about you, buddy? Thanks for coming. All right. Brief update on version 6. There are some things that are already in version 6. The repo, in case you don't know, it's Phalcon, not Falcon C Falcon. And there are some classes already and namespaces that have been implemented there. We're slowly aligning the code between C Falcon and Phalcon. For the classes and namespaces rather that have already been implemented, we're just making sure that Phalcon, the PHP based one, has as much code coverage as possible. We're aiming for 100, right? Right now we're at 92.35, and we're aiming to get that to 100. In some cases we can't, but you have to refactor your code a little bit more in order to be able to attach to get to every single path that your code takes. But what happens is if we do work on a component, for instance, the new changes that I mentioned about security and the use of the password _ hash method, that work was created first in Falcon, the PHP version of it. A lot of tests were written. We aimed as high as possible, and then what we do is we take those tests and we copy them over in the C Falcon, and then we port that functionality into C Falcon. And if the tests pass, then that means that you've correctly ported from A to B, and of course you've increased the code coverage. So this is what we're using, especially for new functionality or certain issues that we already have the classes implemented in Falcon. If not, then we're not reinventing the wheel. The reason we align the tests is because it helps with a diff. If you do a diff between the two, and you make sure that any test that is working on C Falcon is working on Falcon too, so the code is not going to change. And we're slowly rewriting components from A to B, from C Falcon to Falcon. The URL is there for you guys to look at the relevant issues. Pretty much all of them are NFRs on what we need to do, but if you look at the README, there's some, I haven't updated it yet, but what we're doing is we're making sure that we keep a list of what we have already implemented and see what else is left. The biggest thing with this implementation from C Falcon Zephyr to pure PHP are 3 areas. The first area is the annotations. The second area is PHQL and the MVC namespace, and the third one is Vault. And the reason these 3 areas are the biggest ones is because those implementations are pure C implementations. So we have to, if you like, convert C to PHP, right? If the code is pure Zephyr, it's extremely easy to change Zephyr to PHP. But pure C to PHP is a little bit more difficult, and Anton has helped a lot in this regard, because he was toying around with Volt, and he did manage to get a good chunk out of it implemented. So another thing that we did is we introduced a new repository called Traits, and this is for version 6. And the reason we did this is to help the community primarily, as well as any packages that we have, including version 6. What do traits have? What does the repo have? It has a few namespaces and methods of commonly used traits that that you can use. So for instance, one of the methods that we use in Falcon quite a bit is the starts with and ends with, as well as the interpolation. Interpolation, for instance, is used in the logger, in the translator, where it picks up a token and it replaces it with a value. All right. So it makes sense to not duplicate the code and to have a trait to go anywhere else, instead of creating an interpolate object and then calling interpolate on it, right? So we released this package, and we do have all of these methods. Of course, this is work in progress, something that the community might like later on. We will definitely add it and release it, and it would definitely make lives a lot easier. There's also, for instance, lower and upper methods, and all those are UTF-8 compliant. So we do use the MB string, extension, and yes, they are slower than using the str to lower, but they are UTF safe. Now, it's up to the developer to decide whether this is going to be something that they need or they could use, depending on their application. A simple str to lower would definitely be faster than the MB str to lower, right? Or the use of the trait. We have them there, and they do help us in Falcon to not reinvent the wheel. Some methods, especially in the PHP namespace of the traits, are just wrappers to normal PHP functions, to common PHP functions. For instance, as you can see, we have fopen, file put contents. We also have file get contents, fclose, and so on and so forth, fwrite. And why do we have those? In order to achieve the maximum code coverage, you need to create tests that would actually navigate and go through every single part of your code, every if statement, whether the if validates to a true or a false statement. The PHP methods fopen, file put contents, funlink, and so on and so forth, at times they could return false, right? Because something happened in your file system and you couldn't do that. When you're running tests, it's extremely difficult to simulate that false, right? So the way to do that is to actually mock the method and in your tests and make it return false, and then your test will say, all right, well, you returned false. What did I get? Oh, I got an exception. Oh, great. That part of your code worked. Now, mocking and overriding, if you like, native PHP functions, there is a way to do it, but I found it extremely convoluted and not extremely reliable for my taste anyway. So we created these little wrappers that version 6 uses. So it uses PHP file open, PHP file contents, and it's just a wrapper to the normal function. But What this allows me to do is I can use codeception stub, which is a mocking class, and then I can just say whenever in this particular test, whenever you see PHP file put contents, return false. And then after that, I expect to get something, and that covers the part of my code that will execute if the file put contents does not succeed, right? So these are the ones that we use. We hope that you will find them useful. There are a few more. We have some in the pipeline for OpenSSL to be used for the crypt components and so on and so forth. And we can enhance the traits later on as a community. Hopefully others will use them. The package is available already with Composer. All you have to do is just say require Falcon traits and you'll get, I think it's 1.1. I will release another version because I found a small error earlier. And the documentation is in the repository under the docs folder. Again, this is work in progress. More will be added later on. As far as the builds, GitHub Actions and Docker are concerned, we have now full use of GitHub Actions. There has been a lot of work, and thank you to Alex and Anton for pushing forward with this. We're now able to create a release with just one pull request and one click, so to speak. The old workflow was around 3 hours, and most of that time was spent waiting for the Windows builds to build the DLLs using Zephyr. Some of you that have been in some old Hangouts with live releases will remember that. The new workflow is around 15 minutes. So we can pretty much create nightly builds if we want to. Okay, so great work to everybody. There is one more thing that we are working on, is to publish directly to Package Cloud the new release stuff, and we won't have to do much. But that one I think had a couple of glitches. We just need to make sure that it works fine. The final slide before we go to Q&A, we definitely need some help. For whoever wants, we need code testers, so whoever is interested in installing Falcon 5, the alpha version, and playing around, more than welcome to create issues. Let us know what you see, what you don't see. If you're brave enough, create create issues as well, create PRs for those issues. We need some help with Docker and GitHub Actions, and we're willing to pay for those. So if you are interested, ping Jerkerson on Discord, and we'll pick it up from there. Okay, and finally, we have the Q&A. So anything that you guys need to discuss, any, oops, yeah, thank you. Any questions that you might have, happy to address them now or later on in Discord or other media. So no questions. Something that I wanted to show you guys while we wait. Oh, Max, dates for V5 and V6. V6 will definitely be next year. V5, we're trying to push it before Christmas this year. The issues themselves, I don't see them being showstoppers. I do see quite a bit of work going into the documentation. Hopefully, Aziz can actually help us with upgrading the applications, the sample applications. So, if we assume that we're gonna have um, so I'm hoping I can push a release, probably an alpha this week coming, and that would be our last alpha. The next one will be a beta, or we could go straight to a beta. I just need to review a little bit more the issues that are remaining, if they're kind of like smallish ones or really important. I do know that one of them is a group buy in the paginator, and I really want to fix that before we go to beta. But this November, definitely have the beta out, and I don't know. It seems that we're going again towards Christmas. It's becoming kind of like a tradition with Falcon. We had two major releases Christmas Day. So yeah. Also, I'm gonna be off for a couple of weeks up in the mountains because there's hunting season in the latter part of November. So I want to make sure that I have everything ready before I go up there. Um, so yeah, definitely V5 is gonna be this year, uh, most likely December. All right. Max also asks, also what features of PHP 8 and 8.1 are you excited for Falcon 6? Uh, man, that's a loaded question. There's a lot of things that I love about PHP 8. The fact that it's uh, extremely strongly typed. This is something that has always been my little pet peeve, because I want to make sure that whatever I pass into a method is what I want to pass. It's exactly the same type. Falcon has been kind of like marred with sending var or mixed types into a particular method. So, for instance, you would send a variable that could be a string or could be an array. All right. Now with PHP 8, you can actually define that this will be either a string or an array. So I don't really have to check the type of what has been passed. That is a huge time saver. It reduces a lot of cycles in processing and so on and so forth. Also, the coming to that is the union types. As I mentioned, you can say, all right, this can be either a string or an array or something like that. I don't know if I really like the attributes, but I haven't used them that much. Um, we'll see. I see their value, but I don't really know what's gonna happen. I also love the named if is it named arguments that has been called. It's where you can actually skip optional parameters in a method. That would definitely make things a lot easier. I love the weak maps that are coming forward. That would help our cache a lot. And which one is it? It's the question mark pointer. I don't remember how you call it. It's where you have an object, where you have a chain of objects. So let's say you call this and then user and then get name, right? So what happens if user is null? You have a problem. Well, in PHP 8, you can do this question mark pointer user question mark pointer get name, which would check if user is null, it's not gonna call the get name, right? Um, I don't remember how you call that, but I think that would definitely save a hell of a lot of cycles in checking if this is null and this is null and this is null. It makes things a lot easier. So these are things that I'm really excited about. Um, so and of course, this is the best part. I did mention earlier that we have these traits that do the two starts with, two ends with. Well, PHP 8 introduces starts with and ends with. So you're gonna have native functions that would yeah, something like null validation. That's what it's called. And yeah, it is the question mark and then the little dash and then the greater than, the little pointer thing. So yeah, coming back, the starts with and ends with are now methods in PHP 8. So yeah, I don't know what we're gonna do. Of course, we're supporting 7.4 for version 6. Um, and then we're just gonna push everything. Once we get to 8 and 8.1, we're definitely gonna utilize all this new functionality going forward. Uh, Adding new features to V5. Um, Callie, give me a moment. I'll answer your question. So Max says, so after V5, all focus next year is only V6, and V5 will only be maintaining, not adding features. Um, in general, yes. How should I explain this? That is the goal, but that doesn't have to be the goal, right? So, for starters, our main goal once V5 is out, uh, the first thing that we have to address is somebody found a bug in V5. All right, we need to fix that. That's no questions about it, right? Somebody found a security flaw in V5 that needs to be fixed. So there will be releases of V5, okay? But if we are kind of like quiet in the bug front, then our focus will be to translate whatever V5 has, the Zephyr version, to V6. Okay, now that's the main goal. If we found, if we manage to translate, let's say, and I'm using the word translate because you're gonna take the code that is Zephyr and then you're gonna make it PHP, right? That's kind of like a translation. Uh, if we have found a bug, or if we implemented something in V6 based on the list that we have of NFRs or issues and all that stuff, I did mention earlier that we work usually first in V6 in order to make sure that we have all the bugs fixed and tests and covered. Then it's gonna be very easy to take that functionality and send it back to V5. So it's kind of it's gonna be a little bit of a parallel work, so long as we have that particular namespace implemented. The most difficult namespace, in my view, to implement right now is the MVC, the whole database layer. But if we get to the point where we have that database layer fully implemented, and remember I said that PHQL needs to be rewritten for PHP, then it's going to be exceedingly easy to get a bug, get a new feature, work it in V6, make sure you have good code coverage, and just send everything to V5 as well and have that implemented too, which will allow a lot of people to have a much longer wait until they upgrade their applications. our main goal, remember, is V5 and V6 to be pretty much the same. So all you'll have to do is unload the Falcon SO from your INI and do composer install Falcon. That's our goal. So it has to be completely transparent to the community. And whoever wants to use the V5, that's perfectly fine. And again, I'm also reminding so that others would know is that once V6 is out, we are gonna have benchmarks based on what are the slowest parts of our application, of our framework rather. And those slowest parts are going to also be implemented in a PHP extension. All right. For those that would want this extra boost, they can install the extension along with the composer install. And the code, excuse me, and the code would be smart enough to choose the extension for those slow parts of the application. When I'm talking about slow parts of the application, I'm not talking about the eternal fight between double quotes and single quotes, and I'm not talking about an extremely slow, an extremely small, maybe picosecond difference, right? I'm talking about slow parts of the code, and there are some. So that's what the whole goal is. Expect V5 and V6 to be moving in parallel for quite a bit. I would say a year, maybe more. And we just want to make sure that everything is perfect so that the upgrade path from V5 to V6 is just one command for users. Now, coming back to what Cali Almighty is saying, hi, just came up to the stream. Was there any talk about when Falcon 5 releases? We're regularly awaiting at my office. I mentioned this a little bit earlier, Cali. For V5, we are most likely gonna release Alpha 7 this week coming. And I want to, or maybe beta. I just want to make sure that the issues remaining are not crazy difficult. If they are showstoppers, which I don't think they are, and they are only for certain conditions. I did mention something in the lines of somebody is using group by with the paginator or something like that. All right. Not many people use that, or not everybody uses that. So you could delay putting that into the beta, right? I'm not saying not fix it, but I'm talking about the difference between an alpha and a beta release. But anyway, I just want to see the issues, and if we don't release a beta by next week, we will definitely release an alpha. I want a beta to be available for the community this month, and then have a few weeks to update the sample applications, definitely update documentation and make it as thorough as possible, and we are looking around a Christmas release for V5, and I'm saying this because I want to have quite a bit of time in terms of typing everything that I need to type in terms of documentation. So yeah, that's where we're looking at. But definitely 2021 will be V5. It's not going to be 2022. And then after that, we're going to see V6, what the new year will bring. Hold on a sec. I wanted to show you something, guys, so that make sure that you guys know that we're not slacking. Just want to. All right, hold on a sec. Let me just resize this a little bit. It's just my browser window. That's kind of like good enough. All right, so this is the code coverage report from Falcon. This is the PHP version, and as you can see, in a lot of spots, we're at 100%. All right. So this is our goal. This 98.15, we're trying to get it to 100. Of course, here comes the problem. It is in English there is an expression, you should see the forest, not the trees, right? So by trying to make this 90% 100%, that's looking at the trees. By keeping it at 90%, that's looking at the forest. So I'd rather spend spend more time introducing more classes here, translated from Falcon to Falcon, and then try to get this as high as possible, but not spend all my time trying to get 0.5% up. We're already at 93.65, which is really high compared to even other frameworks. And once we have the stable release out, then it's going to become exceedingly easy, even for the community, to just say, hey, I was bored and I ran this and I created this test that actually gives you more coverage into that. And while I was doing that, I found a bug, right? So then the community can be more involved in this particular exercise. Another one you see here, HTTP doesn't have any tests. All right, so that needs to be written there, and it has to be aligned with what Falcon has. So this is pretty much what we use. For instance, this encryption namespace. Let me see if I can quickly drill down very quickly. So you see crypt and security are at 100%. These are all the padding classes and all that, and the interface. These were introduced. The pad factory is at 100%. And the security has the JWT, JSON Web Tokens. That's 100% covered. And the random is also 100% covered. So then we have now the crypt and security. And if I drill down to those, you're going to see that it's pretty much picking up very, very short and small pieces of code. So if I go to the security, let's get to the compute HMAC, for instance. So you see this one here, the code that it's not covered is the one that handles if hash HMAC fails. Now what I could do is I could create a little wrapper that I mentioned earlier in the traits package, and wrap hash HMAC, and then mock that allegedly will return false, and then see that I do get an exception back. At some point I will do that. All right. And the other thing that we have is the request token and check token. The check token is covered up to a point, because the rest of it here assumes that you have a session service and a HTTP request service. Because we haven't converted the HTTP request service yet, this code cannot execute for now. So once we have that particular component done, then we're gonna cover this one too. So this is what I was saying, the forest and the trees. There's some things that we need to check and some things we haven't, but being above 90, I'm very, very happy, and the crap score is okay. So we don't have very complex classes. We can work on complexity a little bit later on. Okay, coming back a little bit to the chat, Cali Almighty says that's awesome, because then we at Fixably can start allocating resources to make the migration happen. Yes, definitely, Cali. And I did mention that we're gonna reach out to the guys that created Rector, which is a great great tool to show you upgrade paths and all that. And I'm going to try and make the upgrade path as painless as possible. Callie also says, is 8.1 support something started for 5? Is it going to be a feature 6 only? No, 8.1 will be a feature of 5, v5. Zephyr is already ready for 8.1, but we have tested it only for the release candidate. We're just waiting a little bit for the actual release. And I believe there was either 1 or 2 tests that were not passing, and Anton was on it. So so that's pretty much all right, the deal. Max, you know I'm a big fan of Swool. Do you envision supporting v6 to provide even more speed? With the use of yield, yes, you could do that with v6 because it's going to be a PHP implementation. Max, you probably were not in the stream when I was mentioning that we're getting we're working on yield support in Zephyr, so you could squeeze in quite a bit of async around there. Um, uh, but um, um, uh, but there's also one more thing. Um, with v6 we want to rewrite the HTTP layer, and we want to make it fully PSR7 compliant. Now there is a namespace called HTTP message that has the PSR7 implementation that you can use right now, but we want the actual application to be using the HTTP layer. What that would allow us to do is be fully compatible with Roadrunner, so you could use that, and you could also go down the Swool route. I don't know how much more we can squeeze, but V8, PHP 8 is significantly faster than any previous versions. So I don't know how much you're gonna get from Swool. Whatever it is, we're just gonna have to figure it out as we go along. And you know, after that, you know, the sky is the limit. 0xf, it's good when everything is green. Yep. Hey Ray, hi, welcome. Ray Hughes, will the testing stubs be compatible with v5? Are you talking about the ID stubs, Ray? Or something else? Or are you talking between v5 and v6? The actual method signatures. And you're welcome, Callie. So you see here, I don't have this method implemented at all. I don't have the request. That's why we don't have that particular piece. I think the biggest class coming back here is the debug. That's the one that I don't have a lot of code coverage for. But I wasn't that worried about it right now. It's not a core component. It's just for debugging purposes. I'm more interested in making sure that, for instance, the collection, which is used throughout, that the helpers are there, and so on and so forth. So you see I have only one spot here in the dynamic, and it's this part here with the matches. Have you thought about making use of type properties by changing the transpiled Zephyr C code? Can you give me an example? I'm not sure I understand what you mean by type properties. And that's for Callie. Max, finally for v6 do we expect support for the router with middleware simplifier implementation similar to other framework where we can assign them directly in the router implementation? Yes, yes, and yes. Definitely PSR middleware, and definitely router with that. If you guys remember, we talked in the past about we want to actually move to a different pattern instead of the MVC. We want to support ADR, which is Action Domain Responder. And one of the routes that we have to take in order to get to that is to pretty much pass messages back and forth. And to do that, we're going to have a solid router and solid middleware. And since there is a standard out, a PSR compliant, we're just going to plug everything like that. Make sure that the router is fully compatible with that. That would allow you to pretty much plug in whatever you want. Anything that is PSR compliant would be able to be handled by your application, allowing you to pick and choose whatever you want. Now, before people start, crying or pulling hair and all that stuff, introducing ADR does not mean that you scrap MVC, right? I want to make this clear. It's exactly the same argument that we wanted to use data mapper and active record. We don't know exactly which one is faster. We do believe that data mapper is faster. It's much easier to work, for sure, if you work with it quite a little bit. But we want to introduce both of them. And then at some point, if data mapper proves to be superior and all that stuff, at some point we're going to deprecate the active record. When? Definitely a few versions from now, not right now. So don't go running around as if the sky is falling. These are plans for the future where we want to do. The real version that the real vision that we have for Falcon is to be extremely lightweight and fast, as it used to be back in the version 5 PHP version 5 days. That was Falcon 1 and Falcon 2. The speed difference between PHP and Falcon was significant. Now that PHP has matured and became faster itself, you're not going to gain a lot of things, but you are going to gain something. So we want to make sure that Falcon is extremely easy to use and fast at the same time. Okay, Falcon supports this with annotations. Yes. I believe they are. Ray says, will the testing stubs be compatible with v5? Falcon supports this with annotations, I believe. I think they are. They are going to be. I haven't checked this with Anton because he's leading the Zephyr, PHP 8, PHP 8.1. We just need to make sure that it does work. I don't know the answer right now. 0xf, does having a lot of classes inside Falcon making it slow if we use only one class like router? We are talking about the extension right now, the Falcon extension that you load on your browser, on your web server. Whether you have 1 or 100 classes in the extension, the only difference that you will see is memory consumption in order to load the extension. After the extension is loaded and it occupies the memory, it doesn't matter if you use one method from it or one class from it or 100. It doesn't really matter. It's exactly the same memory usage. That's your biggest concern. If you had one extension If you had one extension that let's say would contain only the Falcon router, only that class, yes, your memory function, your memory usage would be much smaller than if you had the full framework installed. Ray, I hope that helps you. Helps you, 0xf. Ray says yes, IDE PHP unit stubs. I haven't checked the. I haven't checked the. Come on. The new PHP 8 ones, but definitely we will have support for that. I know that for sure. So let's see how that works. I do know though that one thing the stubs does not correctly parse, and that is when you're using something in the lines of PHP stan or psalm, I think one of them. Um, uh, let's say you return an array, you could actually specify in that array what will be returned. So you just type return add return and then array, and then actually let me switch very quickly and show you. Where is that? Oops. Give me just a sec, guys. I wanna. Come on, man. It's a code. This is. All right, I'll show you an example. I'll just type it here. So let's say that this method returns an array, right? So you would have return array, right? Now, PHP stan usually allows you to do something like that. Array key and then string. So that would return either a number or a string as the key, and then a string as the value. Now, if you have something like this in Zephyr, it will not generate the stubs. So that is something that we need to work on. But along with that, PHP 8.1 annotations and all that will have to be checked. Okay. Callie says, what I meant earlier was if you extend some classes which is not final and write to the parents properties, they are not type roles mixed since it's not using the new 7.4 API. Yes, Callie, I meant generics. That is not supported yet for that. If you extend some classes which is not final, write to a parent's properties, then they are not typed. They are always mixed since it's not using the new 7.4 API. I don't know about that. I don't know what Zephyr does in the background. Honestly, that is more in Anton's or Jefferson's expertise. I do trust him that he tries to squeeze as much functionality as possible and speed. So I don't know if that is the case or what is the case with that. But definitely we're trying to make everything as strongly typed as possible. Especially now with V5 and with V6, things are gonna get even more stricter. So just to give you an idea of the, where is it? So alpha 2, alpha 3. Alright, so we were around here, alpha 2, alpha 3, when during our last Hangout. Yeah, we had alpha 3. It was released then. So then we had alpha 4. It was released September. Not that much. Alpha 5, very, very small release. And alpha 6 had all that. And now the alpha 7 comes from here upwards, that part. So these are the fixes. This is what we added, and then this is what has changed. And I touched a little bit on that. For instance, escaper. So escape JS becomes JS, escape HTML becomes HTML, HTML attribute becomes attributes. It's a little bit easier to know what you're escaping. Not that escape CSS is not intuitive, but making it just a tiny bit easier. Yeah, a few things changed here. And we don't have that many of these left. The biggest problem, especially with now that I'm seeing it, with these two tag and text, is not that we don't have implementations. We already have implementations in the code for those two, but those were implemented as statics, and a static, you really don't know when it's created and when it's destroyed. So this is the main reason we want to just get away from them. Try to not use statics at all, because the developer should be the one that creates the object when the developer wants it, not when PHP wants it, or PHP asks for it. Now there's a lot of pros and cons. The use statics versus non-use statics argument has been as old as use double quotes versus single quotes, and so on and so forth. We choose to not use them. If you want to create a wrapper yourself, go for it. But where I was getting at is the key with these two is that they're used in various other parts of the application. And when you use a static, you really don't care. You can just say tag colon something lower or whatever. But if you don't use a static, then you either have to create an object straight up where you need it and then call the method, which pretty much makes your code a little bit convoluted because you're creating an object and an object. In theory, you should be injecting what you need. So, for instance, for the text here, right? Let's take the text. If you go to support and then helper factory, so open the text. Text has camelize, right? So helper str has the camelize here. Okay. So, oops. So in my code, I could just type in this Falcon text camelize, but if I want to use the Falcon helper str camelize, I have to inject this helper factory to where I need it to. So these are the things that I need to address, and it's better to do it now because this version v5 is going to break backwards compatibility. A lot of things are going to be refactored or have been refactored already. So if I'm going to do something, I might as well do it now before we go to version 6. So if I am to remove this Falcon text, which I want to, then I'm going to have to find how the the next the next the receiving class, how we will get it. Also, this one str camelize is this one here, the helper. These classes too, and those are going to be removed too because they're under here now as classes of their own. So yeah, that stuff. 0xf, I should really stop using static. Better using more small memory by creating the object and then using static. Like I said, whether you should use static or not use static, this is an argument or a fight that has been going on in developer circles as long as Vim is better than Emacs, or Vim sucks and Nano is better, and so on and so forth, or double quotes versus single quotes and all that. You have to find out what works for you, and more importantly, you have to find out what works for your application. It doesn't matter what I say. If you do not like what Falcon offers, which is one way of doing things, you can change it yourself, because this is a framework, it's not an application. Flip it over to our friends at Laravel. They're using statics like there's no tomorrow. Fair enough. If you don't like that part, then change it to whatever you want. So that's the key of the frameworks. They offer you a framework. After that, you can build on top of it and just change certain things the way you want them to be done. Any more questions, guys? Oh, by the way, Ray, I was thinking about you. I don't know if you caught it. We got Argon 2 in V5 as the password hash. You were the one that opened the issue to implement that. Quite a while back, I would say. November 13, 2018. Yikes. So we actually got password hash and Argon into the security/hash. So V5, you're going to be able to use that if you want to. I just, since I saw you here, I thought I'll mention that. You can use Falcon V5 with PHP 8 right now, 0xf. It works perfectly fine, even if it's an alpha, but it compiles and it works just fine. The minimum version for V5 is 7.4 for PHP, and then 8.0, and once 8.1 gets released, we're just gonna need to make sure that the code is compatible, what Zephyr generates, and then we're gonna have support with that. We learned, I've said this before numerous times, we learned the hard way that we need to be as close to the PHP releases as possible. That lesson was really hard for us when PHP 7 was released, because it took us at least 6 months to get Falcon version compatible with PHP 7. It was horrible. I mean, that's all I can say, and I really don't want to go down that route again. So Anton has been very vigilant in testing and making sure that the new version of PHP is compatible with what we're doing and what we're offering. Izo says, I have production side with PHP 8 and Falcon 5, so I can confirm it works well. And Falcon 5 Alpha, way to go, bud. Great news, thanks. And actually, I can confirm too, at work, we are using Alpha 3, I think, or Alpha 4 for now, with PHP 8. So that one is working just fine. All we have to do is just convert our application. And because it's quite a large application, there's certain things that have been missed. So what we're doing is we're using our testing suite to also make us find those little changes. Once we have our testing suite fully running, then we're gonna have everybody just going through the application, making sure that everything gets returned properly. Our Ajax is working, our queue is working, and so on and so forth. So yeah, it does work just fine. Looking at the release notes for Alpha 7, Ray says, I saw that, glad to see. Good job, bud, thanks for reporting it. Callie says, looking at the release notes for Alpha 7 you have on your screen, you might want to rename read-only class, as you cannot use that as a class name in 8.1. I did not know that. Where is this? So it's gonna be a reserved word or something. Maybe we can change it to read collection, something like that, or read only collection. Callie, do you mind opening an issue in Falcon? I'll pick that up. Hey, I'm old, I forget, so if you don't mind, just give me some context over there so I can sort that out. So I was curious the other day. Of course, I don't want to boast or say how cool I am. But hold on a sec. Where was it? I'm just looking at my browser right now. What is this? Here. Just put it in C Falcon. It would be perfectly fine. I'll pick it up on both. I'll change it on both. All right. So what I was gonna say, and of course I'm not doing this to boast, but I was looking at the insights of the repository, the C Falcon. So far, I have added 10,780,000 rows, and I have removed 10,791,000 rows. 2,367 commits. Yay! And I'm getting close to my anniversary very, very soon. And my anniversary is pretty much, I think it's 2012. So next year is gonna be 10 years with Falcon. Love it. So yeah, I was just chuckling about that. Actually, all right. So my first commit was September 5th, 2012. So I got less than a year for my 10-year anniversary. Added version tests. This is hilarious. Things you see in Falcon, right? In a Git. Yay! And believe it or not, these tests are still there. they're roughly the same tests. Minor formatting changes. Wow. Anyway, enough with the memory lane. So guys, I've been keeping you here for the last hour and a half. If you guys have any questions, by all means post them here. Otherwise we can talk on Discord, and you know, issues and all that. So, and thank you ZeroXF for the happy 10 years. It will be next year, in September, but I'm gonna ask my daughter to make me a cake. um, but anyway, by all means, if you have any more questions, let's get them here. Otherwise, we're just gonna reconvene in either in the issues, discussions, or Discord. Izo, thanks for the stream. Of course, buddy, anytime. And nice to see you guys. Nice to see familiar names. All right, I guess you're welcome, Kelly. Coroutine and Falcon, what do you think? Um, yeah, you can do that. Yep. Okay, so it comes up. So ZeroXF says coroutine plus Falcon. What do you think? And Izo also commented out. Also, thanks for bringing up the Roadrunner project. It looks dope. So both these projects actually speed up your application by introducing asynchronous processing, right? So coroutine is Swole. I know Max Castor is using that, and he loves that. It gives him a really good boost in performance and so on and so forth. What I was saying is that yes, you can get a lot of good stuff from by using the coroutine, and the coroutine, which is Swole, is gonna be definitely faster than anything that you can make up on your own, right? And the reason I'm saying this is because their implementation is pure C. Okay, so they squeezed up as much as much performance as possible from the hardware, right? Now, you can tie that up with Falcon, and so hold on a sec, Azo. I'll check those out in a minute. So yeah, those are gonna squeeze as much as performance as possible for you. I know that Max is using that already, and he gets the performance. Now, with a new release that is gonna happen at some point of Zephyr, when we're gonna have yield functionality, then you're gonna be able to use yield in your Zephyr projects, so to speak, and we're gonna be able to use yield in certain areas of the framework that we can. So, for instance, if I'm traversing a whole array and returning the results back to you, I could use yield right there, and just allow other cycles to process. All right. So yeah, that's the deal. With Roadrunner, what happens is Roadrunner is a web server that allows you to do this kind of processing, but it requires PSR7 messages. as responses. And right now, unless you do some legwork and use the HTTP/message namespace to be sending back PSR7 messages for your responses, you can't do that. So that's why I was saying earlier, I don't know if you caught that we will be redoing our HTTP layer to use only those. And then that would be compatible with Roadrunner. And after that, once you have something that is a PSR compliant component, then you can plug in anything you want. Right? You can use somebody else's components. But changes have to be made in the router, the whole HTTP layer, and so on and so forth. Okay. ISO, I'm gonna check those out in just a sec. Okay. Oh wow. Okay. I just need to check the description, probably edited. But ISO, it is what you see. If you do falcon.io/gab, it will get you to gab. I guess YouTube just added some junk in it. I'll fix that once I fix the description. Actually, I need to add a couple more things in the introduction where it has the description. And also, guys, thank you all. We are at 1.18k subscribers. I still remember the time that we were at 700 or something. And we were saying, oh my gosh. All right. I just let you go, guys. Thank you so much for coming. And see you all online. Thank you, Kyle. I just got the notification. I appreciate it. All right. Take care, guys, and have a lovely weekend.